Hey everyone, I just woke up after a long nap. I don't know, maybe it's because I had that thing on my mind that I'm about to start a new chapter. So, why shouldn't I take a nap? I guess that's what I had in my mind. Okay, with that being said, it is time to get started with chapter 5, folks. Did not even create a project for that, so let's try to do so immediately. We're doing chapter 5 loops exercise 5.5. Okay, oh gosh, we're gonna have to create a folder there, and we're gonna have to call it chapter 5. Then inside that folder, create another folder called exercise 5.1. That's where I'll store my products. Oh gosh, my project. I don't know if some of you can tell from my voice that for real, I had a nap. Okay, a long one too. Okay, let's create a class. I'll call it exercise 5_1A. Of course, I do need a main method. I no longer like doing things this way. I prefer to deal with all basic stuff. By basic stuff, I mean creating projects, classes, declaring scanners, and initializing it. I prefer doing all of that up front before I even start recording. However, as I just said, I just had a nap. I don't know. It seems like I forgot all of that. Okay, so let's jump on to the question on hand. So this is it right here. So what we are required to do, we count positive and negative numbers and compute the average of numbers. Write a program that reads an unspecified number of integers, determines how many positive and negative values have been read, and computes the total and average of the input values, not counting zeros. Okay. Your program ends with the input 0. Display the average as a floating point number. Here's a sample run. Okay, as you guys can see, this is how it looks, this sample run. Let's jump back to our IDE. So, as always, we create a scanner first. System.in. Scanner.close. Now that we have a scanner, we wanna prompt the user to enter a sequence of numbers. Right, okay. System.out.print. There is a way to simply do that. There's a way to simply, with a few clicks, display system.out.print. Okay, you write system.out.print, enter an integer. The input ends if it is 0, not 0. Let me see if I wrote exactly what they had here. Okay, it seems like I got that right. Now I'm gonna take. You see, this is one way of doing it, you guys. I'm assuming a person who's doing this is not familiar with loops, right? Okay, so here's the sequence. Okay, so here's our solution. It's gonna be scanner dot next line. If sequence dot not sequenced sequence dot length is equals to 1, what do we do in that case? Oh, in fact, that's not my first condition I want to check. But what I would have said is, oh, you know what, let me just go. If dot ends with, I'm trying to check if my input ends with 0. If it doesn't end, if it doesn't end with 0, then immediately I know we have a problem. So here's what I'll do. System. Oops. I'll just go error, invalid input, end of story. So system.exit I don't know who's spilling water outside. Okay, so that's my first condition. I wanna check. That's my first validation condition. My second one will simply go sequence dot length. I wanna check if my length is equals to 0, and if it is, then this is what we will have. System.out.print. Okay, what else? Once I do this, I wanna do that with a different status though. Okay, now I'm done with validation, right? It is time to get to the core of the problem on hand. So I will declare these integers: number of positive numbers. I'll initialize that to 0. Number of negative numbers, again I'll initialize that to 0. What else? So I wanna go double total. I hope everyone knows that the sum of integers, the sum of any number of integers will be an integer. However, I'm gonna declare my total as a double. But in the end, I want you guys to tell me the reason why you think I decided to do that, right? Okay, so here's the part where we include loops. So what I'll simply do is go while sequence dot contains, while sequence contains a space. Again, this is not the best solution, guys. So here, another thing I'll have, I wanna declare a number here. This number corresponds to the number to the current number we'll be dealing with. Okay, so here's it. We simply go number is equals to integer dot pass, and then in here what we'll simply do, we're gonna do this. We use the substring method, sequence dot substring method. From 0 up to the space, the very first space we'll encounter when we're starting from left to right on our string. Sequence dot index of up to the index of our space. I hope everyone is clear what's going on here. What I'm basically doing, so if we have a number like, if we have something like that, this line over here will take the whole sequence, take the substring starting from index 0, which is this position here, up to the index of space, but excluding it. That means we only gonna, in this example, take 32. However, we will keep repeating that. You will see as we go on, because this is inside a loop. It means we'll do the very same thing, because right now we are about to update our sequence. Our sequence will now be sequence dot sequence. Am I wrong? Sequence dot substring I wanna start from I don't know why the compiler didn't continue for me. So it's gonna be, now I wanna truncate this part of my string and be left with everything starting from 44. I hope everyone is clear again what's going on there. Okay, now that I've updated my thing, I'll continue. Okay, what I will then do is to check. I will check if my number is less than 0, and if that's the case, then we know immediately that number of negative numbers has to be incremented. Else, if number is greater than 0, the number of positive numbers has to be incremented. Otherwise, that means we encountered a 0. What we can simply do, we can break, right? Once we drew that, we just go total is equal to plus minus number. We add our number to total and update number of numbers, which I did not declare, number of numbers. So this will help us, this variable here will help us calculate the average of all numbers. So that's why we want, let me get rid of that. That's why we want its number of numbers. We'll initialize it to 0. That will simply store the number of numbers in our sequence. I hope that's clear again. Okay, with that out of the way, I don't know if I still have got to repeat this part because we are on loops and most of you aren't familiar with loops, right? Okay, so what I'm saying here is the validation part is pretty straightforward. We're checking if our sequence ends with 0, and if it doesn't, we consider there as an invalid input. Again, immediately after we do that, we check if our sequence ends with, has only one character. Again, if that is the case, we know that no numbers are entered, right? However, if both of those validations were correct, all right, we declare 4 numbers. The first one to count the number of positive numbers, the second one to count the number of negative numbers, and the third one to store our total, and the second last one is we'll simply store a current number on our sequence, right? Because we'll go through each and every number on our sequence. And lastly, our number of numbers will store the number of numbers in our sequence. Okay, so this is the crucial part of this exercise. So what I'm saying here, why there is a space in my sequence, right? If you have something like this, 9 and then 3, then 0, this thing will get executed. Why? Because we do have a space between 9 and 0. Okay, between 9 and 3, this line over here will retrieve 9, and then this one here will update our sequence from 930 to 3, then 0, right? I'll then check that 9, the one we just extracted. I'll check if it is positive, if it is negative. If that's the case, we increment our number of negative numbers. Else, if it is positive, we increment the number of positive numbers, right? Otherwise, if number is 0, then we know it's the end of our list. Okay, again here we update our total and then number of numbers. We then come back here, but we know that now we only have 3 and 0. Again, we're checking if there is a space in between our numbers, and if the answer is yes, we know that we're good. So this thing here will extract 3, and then this right here will update our sequence from 30 to exactly 3, right? The very same thing applied before applies right here, right? We simply check our number, our 3. If it is less than 0, we increment our number of negative numbers. If it is greater than 0, we increment our number of positive numbers. Otherwise, we break, right? You know that that's 0, so it's the end of the sequence. We simply add that 3 to our total, then we increment number of numbers. And then lastly, what we'll do is our sequence will only have this part here, right? We'll only have that. So we'll check that, does it have a space? So the answer will be no. So this whole thing won't get executed, which brings me back to this point that I probably don't need that. In fact, I don't need that at all, because we'll never get to a case where we have a 0 here, and then for some weird reason it gets this, all these lines of code get executed, right? We'll never get to that point where our number happens to be 0, because if it is 0, it will mean that this thing here told us the sequence do have a space, which is impossible. Okay, so that should be it for this tutorial, you guys. Let's try to run it and see what we get. Oh, I haven't yet displayed my final output, but it's system.out.print. It's not something hard. Okay, this is the number of positive numbers, is that number of positive numbers. Okay, oops. Okay, and if you feel like I'm way too slow, feel free to fast forward this video. I'm assuming people are absolute beginners, people that are following me. I'm assuming all of them are absolute beginners. Okay, what else now? Number of negative numbers. What else do I want to say? So the total is total. Remember, you guys, I once asked you what could possibly be the reason behind me declaring my total variable as a double data type. I'm still waiting for that answer. Okay, so lastly, system.out.print. In fact, I wanna use printf there, not print. I'll simply go the average is okay. Let's just go oops, one space to the left point, two numbers after a decimal point, and F is our format specifier. Okay. Oops. So we gotta go total divided by number of numbers. That should do it. Do we have a problem? Okay, now let's hit the run button and see what we get. Let me put these numbers exactly. Again, guys, feel free to let me know in case I've made any stupid mistakes, right? Because that's what we do as programmers. Sometimes we make mistakes. Oh, it seems like my total variable should have been a double because I've got that as a double, right? I've got 5.5 instead of 5. But let me tell you guys the reason why they use because it seems like on their code too they used total as 5. As a double data type, even though the sum of integers of any finite number of integers is also an integer. So the reason behind that is simply because if we had to use an integer, that will imply that this over here, this fraction over there, will result into an integer because we'll be performing division on two integers. That will mean this answer here, this 1.5, would be simply 1. So that's why we decided to use double data type for our total. With that out of the way, you guys, I think that should be it for this tutorial, but let's try putting different numbers. Okay, Let's see what's gonna happen if we put a 0. What you think you guys is going to happen? So it told us there are 5. So positive numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 5. Okay. It worked well. 1, 2, 3. It worked well, right? Okay. That should be it for this tutorial, you guys. Cheers. I'm gone. Tell me though if you think I messed up, because you might probably think that it shouldn't count numbers after 0, right? But if you think that should be the case, so the solution will simply be, if you want our program to forget about everything after a 0 has been encountered, we can simply put this condition we had before, else break. Okay, you see right now it's saying we have 5 integers, positive integers, right? Numbers. Okay, let me put the very same input. You see right now it's no longer counting these numbers here. It's a matter of preference, folks. That should be it for this tutorial, you guys. I'm gone. Cheers.